Are You My Dad? And I Am My Mom, the final 2 episodes of StevenBomb 6. Man, this StevenBomb may have started out with an episode that I found to be a little underwhelming, but it certainly didn't end that way. These 2 episodes do view like one episode, so I am going to be reviewing them as one episode. I mean, they aired together, after all, so I don't see the point in not reviewing them together. Over the course of about a day, Steven starts to realize that people from around town have started disappearing, specifically the part of town that he himself lives in, and visits often, the boardwalk area. He comes to discover pretty quickly that it is Jamie, Lars and Sadie, and Onion who are missing. While searching for them, he encounters a gem, a very small gem with a very small gemstone on her cheek, who asks Steven, "Are you my dad?" Steven is so confused by this encounter that he doesn't really know what to do. He returns home, calls together the crystal gems, except for Peridot, of course. Says, "Why would you involve Peridot in a plotline about homeworld gems?" They try to identify the gem based on Steven's description, but aren't able to, and instead they set out in pairs trying to find her. Steven and Connie pair off, and they actually manage to bump into this gem. But as soon as Connie reveals herself as Connie, another gem appears, a large yellow gem, who has the missing people embedded in her body. She defuses into 2 separate smaller versions of herself, and then refuses around Connie, capturing her as well. Meanwhile, Steven is unable to do anything against them. The small blue gem is equipped with the same sort of stasis device that Peridot had in her arm, and that's a piece of technology that the gems simply haven't been able to overcome yet. Once again, though, the small blue gem asks, "Are you my dad?" The episode actually really drives that point home. The crystal gems regroup. Steven has now learned the name of the small blue gem. Her name is Aquamarine. He also overheard the large yellow gem's name as Topaz. This surprises the other crystal gems. It seems that aquamarines and topazes are so important that if one is sent to a planet, it is typically under the direct orders of the diamonds. They regroup and keep searching. They end up at Funland, where they encounter these gems again, and both of these gems prove to be quite clever and shrewd in combat. Aquamarine immediately recognizes Pearl as being dangerous due to her intelligence, so removes her from the situation, and Topaz uses the hostages to prevent Garnet, probably the only gem capable of matching her physically, from causing her any harm. It's at this point that Steven realizes that Aquamarine was not asking about her dad, she was asking about someone named My Dad. Aquamarine specifically references a list of humans that Peridot gave to Homeworld in her report, a list given to her by Steven back when she was still working for Homeworld. Steven listed off Connie, Lars and Sadie, the mailman, Onion, as well as My Dad. Peridot, being Peridot, especially at the time, she was extra Peridot-y back then, mistook all of these for not just names, but also types of humans, the same way that there are types of gems. And since it seems that the Diamonds have decided to use this list to gather specimens for the zoo, it is actually indirectly Steven's fault that these particular humans were taken. So Steven feels very guilty. He ends up allowing the gems to take him as well, claiming to be My Dad, with the intention of using his bubble from inside Topaz to split her up and rescue the hostages. It works, but it isn't until after Aquamarine and Topaz have returned to their ship that he manages to get himself and the other humans free. There's another small clash, where Connie actually manages to hold her own relatively well against Topaz, but she and Steven were not able to fuse. If they had been able to fuse, things may have turned out differently. Instead, the ship is grabbed out of the air by Alexandrite, who is immediately immobilized by Aquamarine's stasis wand. The 2 groups are now kind of at a stalemate, with the advantage sort of creeping in the direction of the Homeworld gems, so Steven decides to take responsibility. He announces that he's not My Dad, he is his mom, he's Rose Quartz, and he offers to willingly exchange himself for all of the hostages and be taken back to Homeworld to answer for Rose's crimes. The episode ends with the other humans being ejected from the ship, Alexandrite being defused, and Steven and one additional human, Lars, who wasn't able to make it off the ship, being taken away towards Homeworld. Not only is this the first ever true cliffhanger that we've gotten in Steven Universe, because if I'm not mistaken, this is the season finale. It's also one of the best paced episodes of the entire show. If you view this all as one episode, it's one of the best paced episodes of the entire show, and it actually harkens back to what I've been saying about pacing for a while now. This could have been done as one 11-minute episode. You could have fit all the bullet points in one 11-minute episode, but because they were able to draw it out over 2, it works so much better. 2/3 of the first episode are devoted to building up this creepy atmosphere. We've already been getting a little bit of that. We've already been getting a little bit of a tone setter for that in the last couple of episodes, but now we get it properly. Steven walks through town and it feels completely empty because the people he expects to see there aren't there. And then it culminates with a small, strange gem appearing, one who seems completely innocent, almost like a creepy child from a horror movie. It was just really good, and even though this episode did have a proper climax of its own, in a way, with the small clash in the woods where Connie was taken, it is mostly built up for the climactic episode to come next. Both episodes did a really good job of not making it 100% clear which side would win in an all-out conflict. There are small clashes, yes, but they never actually go anywhere. No contact is really made between members of either side. It's still up in the air which team would win if these two actually were to come to blows. And the wham reveal that it is Steven's list of humans that is being used to mark these targets for abduction is a big deal. Not only is it a great example of continuity, one that I honestly didn't expect them to bring up after so long, but it feeds perfectly into the conflict that Steven has been feeling lately. And no, I'm not talking about anything from Lion 4. Lion 4 still didn't contribute to this at all. In fact, Lion 4, the reveal at the end of Lion 4 that Rose didn't want anything specific from Steven, that she didn't want him to be left living up to her legacy, actually detracts from that conflict. I'm talking about back in Mindful Education, for example, when Stevonnie was going through one of their crises and saw Rose quartz in their mind, indicating that Steven has so many unresolved emotions regarding Rose. He's been learning more and more about the things that Rose did and wondering for a long time now if he's responsible for them. And so encountering this gem who has this list that he effectively gave to her makes him feel even more responsible than he already did and pushes him to make that one final leap and turn himself into Homeworld. Which is absolutely ludicrous. Let's be perfectly clear here. If Steven hadn't given Peridot that list and Peridot hadn't reported it, then the Diamonds may have sent Aquamarine and Topaz to take random humans. They may have taken them from anywhere on the planet. And the Crystal Gems may have not even known that it happened. Steven may have saved these people by giving Homeworld that list. But he can't see it that way because he feels so responsible for the things that Rose has done. He ends up feeling responsible for this too, and it just rolls right into that. If I had to complain about anything in these two episodes, it would be, one, that Peridot wasn't involved. She should have been involved. Maybe they couldn't involve her in the plot yet without drawing out the plot even more and requiring more episodes, and they didn't want to do that, but she still should be involved. If not now, then at some point in the future, she should become involved in this plotline somehow. The fact that they made a big deal of declaring Peridot an official Crystal Gem and then completely removed her from the situation so that she hardly ever interacts with the other Crystal Gems anymore is more and more infuriating to me with each episode. But I continue to tell myself that they must have some plan for the character and that I'm just reading too much into things and that I need to let it go. Hopefully I'm right. And I will admit that some of my overarching feelings about Peridot and her involvement in the story is creeping into my feelings for this episode specifically, and I shouldn't be letting that happen. Second, I don't like that we were shown, at least at this point definitively, that a gem the size of Alexandrite can be completely immobilized by that stasis field. I mean, I guess technically it makes sense that she would be able to be immobilized by the stasis field, but we didn't have to be shown that yet, and either way, I don't really like it. I mean, yeah, Aquamarine didn't throw her or anything, so maybe she can't move a gem that large, she can only immobilize them, which would mean that Alexandrite might be able to fight through that eventually. But if Aquamarine, if any gem with this tech, we also know that Peridot had the same tech, so not even just Aquamarine. The only difference being that Aquamarine seems to be trained to react in a combat situation and use this tech accordingly, whereas Peridot didn't seem to be trained that way. Any gem with this tech should conceivably be able to defeat the Diamonds. If this tech can really immobilize any gem of any size, then Aquamarine should be able to beat the Diamonds, and I don't like that, and I don't think the Diamonds would allow that. So it feels a little out of place for me, but that really is genuinely a nitpick, because even more so than Peridot, Aquamarine can be separated from this tech, and then she's just a tiny, helpless gem. So that's probably what's going to happen in the end, is she's going to be separated from this tech, and that's how they're going to defeat her. I just think it is noteworthy that that did bother me, that I really didn't like that detail. But overall, these two episodes were fantastic. This is one of the best season finales of the entire show. The best since Jailbreak, if not even better than Jailbreak. I think that's kind of up for debate, honestly. And they have certainly got me super pumped for the episodes to come next. One of which is already leaked, because Cartoon Network hates me personally, apparently. That episode is called Stuck Together. I have watched it. I know I'm a hypocrite, but what are you going to do? So I'm going to ask you guys, do you want me to go ahead and review it? It'll be next week probably when I do. Do you want me to just go ahead and review it? Other people already have, so the reviews are already out there. I'm going to attempt to leave a little poll right up here. I've never actually done it before, so it may not work out, but just in case, keep an eye out right here, and let me know which you would prefer. All of that said, guys, what did you think of these two episodes if you have seen them? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.